So if you remember anything from this talk, it's that early adopters matter. They matter as your customers. They matter as your employees, even more so. And to attract them as your employees, you have to be an early adopter. So that's what I want to talk about. Now, raise your hand if you know what this is. So most of you are lying, because I think everybody knows what this is. This is KFC Double Down. And most people, you think of early adopters, and you think of technology. You think it's for tech heads and technology pundits and stuff like that. But no, early adopters are everywhere. So to tell you a little story, this guy named Ryan, he's actually my brother-in-law. He's a grain farmer in southern Saskatchewan, which is where I'm from, and he loves fast food. So I get this call one day, and he's like, "Hey, Ken," and he's like so excited. He's like, "Hey, Ken, they've got it. I'm in the drive-thru. I'm going to get one." Like, I have no clue what he's talking about. But he's talking about this KFC Double Down that he'd heard about, and I think you guys got it in the States a lot before we did. And so you could call this an innovative sandwich, if you will. And he was really excited, and I'm like, I'd never really thought about it. It looks pretty unhealthy and a little bit dangerous, but I was like, he's really excited about it. I think maybe I'll kind of had a craving for one, but I'm going to wait to see if he dies after eating it first. But so this, to most of us, just looks like a piano. But to Jason Thompson, it's so much more than that. So most of us, as husbands, have been in a situation where we've maybe been neglecting our wife a little bit. We haven't been buying her flowers or dates and stuff like that. So you make this like big, overzealous promise, and mine was, "I'm going to buy you a piano." And so we go into this piano store, and Jason Thompson was a salesman there. And so, he sort of patiently shows us all the options and goes through everything. And slowly it starts changing to, just more casual conversation about who he is and what he does. It turns out he's actually a school teacher, full-time, and he only works part-time as a piano salesman. This was the next big thing. The thousands and thousands of hours of engineering went into this marvel of a piano. And he comes in on the evenings and weekends actually just to write music and play this piano. And it's actually an electrical piano. And I was like, whoa, this is really cool. And I wanted to buy that piano, not because he was trying to sell it to me, but he just loved it so much. And he seemed like somebody that really knew what he was talking about. So you can see customers, like the KFC Double Down, or employees, like the piano, both matter a lot in spreading ideas. So we've all seen this curve. It's the early adoption curve. And most of us think of it in terms of technology. But actually, this curve was first developed in a study at a university when they were looking at the early adoption of hybrid corn seed among farmers in northwestern states, I think. And what they found was that the innovators and the early adopters tended to be young, well-educated, risk-oriented, community leaders, but also very, very passionate about what they were doing. And so the age-old question is, okay, well, the innovators, they just sort of get it, and they take it. But how do we take it from the early part of that curve to that big, fat part of the curve? And the answer is not the KFC Double Down. But the crux is clearly those early adopters, those innovators and early adopters. So, and well-educated doesn't mean they've got a degree from Harvard. It means they are very well-versed in what they're talking about. So this guy who was a school teacher probably went to school to teach children. But he loves pianos, and he knows everything there is to know about that piano. So he is very well-educated and probably self-taught. So when you think about the spreading of ideas, and I don't know how many people remember this. This is a company, Napster, and then probably the first program that we ever used to download music. But they went from 0 to like 50 million customers or users in like a year or a year and a half. And how do you think they did that? Well, it was mostly free music. But with Facebook, so if you think about Facebook, they're almost like 1 billion users. And it started with 0. And how does that happen? You had people signing up and just being like, wow, this is amazing. And then they started getting their brothers and sisters to sign up, and then their mom and their dad, and then the grandma and grandpa wanted to sign up to keep in track with the family, and then they got their boyfriends and girlfriends to sign up, and then a couple months later, their ex-boyfriends and ex-girlfriends were signing up. But it's this incredible way to keep in touch with people. And these people were so passionate about this new way to communicate and to stay in touch, they just spread it to everybody. So there's a term for these people, and we call them actually sneezers. they just want to spread, they've found something that they're so passionate about, they want to spread it to as many people as possible. So actually, they're not just sneezers. They're kind of gross. They sneeze and they don't cover their mouth at all. They want to hit as many people as possible. So that sort of highlights customers, but what about employees, where it really, really matters? So Microsoft used to be like the mecca of technological innovation. Windows XP came out in about 2001, and was probably their last good operating system until 2009, when Windows 7 came out. So during that time, during much of that first decade or so of the 21st century, the technological innovators were just leaving Microsoft in droves. And why? These are the people that were so passionate at one point, and now they were just flocking to companies like Twitter, Facebook, Google, and Apple. And why? I mean, they were so passionate, but the innovation was gone. You know, in the time between Windows XP and Windows 7, Apple released products like the iPod and the iPhone, and they released their Mac OS X. Gmail happened, Twitter happened, Facebook happened. These were huge leading things. And these people that were really passionate about technology wanted to be a part of it. And so what ended up happening is the users started also leaving Microsoft. And this was a big problem, but it started with their employees. So this is my kid. His name is Wyatt. He was born this year. And you're thinking, wow, that's a really cute baby. But that's not the point of this slide. The point of the slide is actually because I wanted to highlight a company that really attracts passionate employees is actually IQmetrics. And this year, there's like 20 babies being born at IQmetrics. That's like a 20% success rate. So the point, though, is that what happens with employees is that when you innovate, we like it. So you innovate, I like. You innovate, I like. And I'm going to draw other customers. I'm going to draw other people. I'm going to be so excited about where I'm working that I'm spreading it. So, and that's great, because this happens with customers, too. You innovate it, they love it. You innovate, they love. And that's Apple. You look at this virtuous cycle, and this is what Apple has, is innovation and customers just loving it, and their loyalty is incredible. But what happens with employees is that when you innovate, and I like it, then I innovate, and you like it. And it's this great virtuous cycle of innovation. And then also with employees, what it simplifies to is that we innovate and we love it. And that's what these companies like Twitter and Facebook have going for them, is they're attracting these passionate people that are drawn to the innovation of companies like Twitter, or, I mean, Facebook's just incredible, constantly stretching the bounds. So that's the big idea. I hope I'm on time. Awesome. So the idea is, just like I said at the beginning, customers matter as early adopters, and you want to attract them. And how do you attract them? But through being an early adopter and having early adopters as your employees. So if I've got a couple of minutes, I just wanted to highlight an experience that I had this last week where I wanted to sort of practice buying and then returning a phone and hooking my dad up with a phone. So I walk into this store and I sort of start saying, like, I don't really know what I'm looking for, and kind of play dumb a little bit. When I knew I'm quite well versed, like I really love technology and cell phones. And so the first experience, this girl was just incredibly helpful. She started talking about the things that she uses with her friends and how she likes to use like this features or this phone and what her next phone was going to be and the phones that her friends all love, and really helpful. And she wasn't really so much selling me things. She was just talking about things that she loved. And actually, she's like, well, if you have any problems, here's my number. You can text me and I'll help you. And actually, now that I think about it, she probably thought I was flirting with her, which probably isn't very appropriate. I'm a married man, as you saw. I've got the kids, but incredibly helpful. She just wanted me to have a phone that I loved. So then a week later, I wanted to return the phone. So I go to return it, and I used it with this girl was just very uninterested, very disengaged. My dad wanted a phone. She just sort of like, he sort of left to his own devices. And you can see she had a cell phone. Two girls worked in the same store. One, incredibly passionate, and just I loved buying from her. The other one was just simply there to, help me get through the sale. And that was it. And it was such a disengaged process. So the employees that you want to hire are the early adopters, the ones that are so passionate about what they're doing, about what you're doing, they just can't help but be successful. Thank you. Thank you.